In his new short-form online series, The Rabbit Hole with Jimmy Kimmel, the late-night host takes a look at some of the biggest conspiracies of our time, including, is Donald Trump a time traveler? Where did Elon Musk come from? The secrets behind things as wide-ranging as 5G technology, boat wakes, windmills, and even waffle houses. He joins me now to talk about... I'm sorry, who are you?
Hey, it's Jesse. I'm Jesse
Hey.
Joyce. I'm one of Jimmy's writers. We know each other, you and me.
Oh.
I've
Yeah.
known you for years, Andy. Why
Oh,
would
okay.
Jimmy? Yeah, so like it even makes more sense that I would do this and not Jimmy, right? Because like we know each other. Like, doesn't that track?
No, look,
I
always
mean, you
happy to
seem
talk
like
to Jesse
no.
Joyce.
You seem very disappointed. It's fine. It's fine. It's
No,
just
no,
we agreed to
look,
do this thing, and
Jesse,
then yeah.
I know that you are an Emmy nominated and Writers Guild Award winning comedy writer. I know you've written for the Oscars, the Emmys, the Tonys, numerous other award shows, Comedy Central roasts. I know you write for Jimmy Kimmel. So I'm happy to talk to you. I actually would prefer to talk to you.
You can
Yeah,
swallow your disappointment. It's
you're the
fine.
guy.
It's
No. It's all good. I'm guessing you are the guy behind these videos anyway. Like, Kimmel sits up there in his throne and, gets on camera and everyone says, oh, Jimmy Kimmel, he's so funny. And meanwhile, you're like, you live in the dungeon and you are crafting all of this for him. So I'm always happy to talk to you, Jesse Joyce.
Well, I feel like that's misrepresented as well, but sure. But I'm happy to talk to you too. Yes. So
But that's misrepresenting in your favor. So let's stick with that.
yeah.
So how did the rabbit hole come about? Whose idea was it to do these videos on these wacky conspiracy theories?
Well, so like it's a thing that I like pitch all the time because I'm so fascinated with like conspiracy goofs, you know? And
Yeah.
so I just like I have a brain that kind of does that. So I'm able to like I pitch these like very elaborate conspiracy bits for the monologue a lot. And Jimmy has a tendency to pick them because he thinks they're very funny. And so, which delights me, and that encourages me more to pick them. But we consistently never have time to do them. And the reason why is because in order for them to work, you have to like lay track for like 3 or 4 minutes. And it's a lot of
Right.
it's too much real estate in a monologue. And so they would just kind of just sit there and not do anything. And then Molly McNeary, the head co-head writer on the show, she was like, we should be doing these like as a podcast, as like a video podcast thing, and put it on the internet because that's where like conspiracies exist. Anyway, that's where like
Yeah.
these doofuses are who do this kind of thing. So like it just kind of was like a place to funnel that silliness, and so that's kind of how it came about.
That's awesome. So how heavily researched are these videos? And on it, for example, in the Is Trump a Time Traveler video, Kimmel says the only thing Trump loves more than snacks is getting his bottom spanked. This
Yes.
is not something the mainstream media will tell you. So how did you all come across this? How did you discover it? What kind of research did you do?
I did a ton of research. I got quite a lot. Like the
Yeah.
investigation part got me to researching the deed to Trumpington Village Hall, which is just some sort of like community hall in this small town in England that happens to bear the name of Trump. And it's like that is just seemed like it would be a coincidence. But the fact that they held a bondage and spanking workshop, and we are all well aware of what he pays people to do to his ass with magazines, and then whatever you've just seen his
All right.
doughy physical appearance, like so you can just put two and two together. The man clearly loves snacks. We know he likes to get his ass spanked, so it's pretty obvious from there. It all falls into place, you know.
uh-huh. I didn't know we were all aware of certain things that you are claiming we're all aware of, but that works for me. What is the deal with Trump and Ferris wheels, and how does this prove that he's a time traveler?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that's also pretty obvious, Andy. I mean, I feel like you weren't really paying attention because,
Well, this is for our viewers and listeners.
yeah. Oh, right. Sure. You get it. Right. I know what now it's
Yeah, of course I get it. Yeah.
right. This is just for people who weren't familiar with it. And I appreciate that. So no, so, we discovered in our, extensive researching that, that Donald Trump, more than likely attended the, 1893 Chicago World's Fair. And that is obviously because that's got to be where he got so obsessed with Ferris wheels, because there's pictures of him online. He loves to be seen like getting his picture with Ferris wheels. He owned one in Atlantic City, and then he even brought like a Ferris wheel to the White House. Right, there's a Ferris
Right.
wheel in the back lawn. There were articles written about it at the time. He was real excited. He likes to talk about them. Like he's into Ferris wheels, and that could have only happened at the Chicago World's Fair, because, well, like that's the most important thing that came out of that World's Fair, as you well know, right? If you've read Devil in the White City, for example, we all know that
Sure.
that's where the Ferris wheel, right? But
Yes.
this is the
Yeah,
detail that I
I
uncovered.
actually did know.
Right. Well, this is the detail that I uncovered that I don't know if a lot of people know, that really drove home. It's got to be Trump. Is that that Ferris, the guy who invented the Ferris wheel, George Washington Ferris, didn't get paid. He like built a Ferris wheel, huge success, and then they fucked him over, right? Like somebody screwed him out of money. Like who can that be? It can only be Donald Trump. Like no one else, right? So anyway, so that's how that, I mean, it all like just clicked into place. It makes a lot of sense.
Can I be honest with you here for just a minute, and then I promise I'll go back to not being honest with you.
Sure.
You amassed all this evidence as proof that Trump is a time traveler. The fact that he must have been at the Chicago World's Fair. There are like church gargoyles in England that are, I don't know, 1,000 years old that seem to have the face of Donald Trump. It felt to me like all this evidence that you say is proof that Trump is a time traveler could have a much simpler and a much more elegant conclusion, which is that Trump is an immortal. And yet you're sitting here, you got all this Kimmel money behind you, all of Kimmel's power behind you, and this doesn't even come up in the videos. And this seems strange to me, almost like some sort of like there was a false flag operation going on here. How do you answer these charges?
Well, sure, you'd think that. Of course you would. But if you don't think we kick the tires on that, then you're dumber
Why?
than I
Because I'm
thought,
Jewish?
Andy. No.
Is that what you meant?
No, it's not at all what I meant. What? Kicking tires? What? This is a weird. No, the reason why, of course, if you look at him, he's aged terribly. Like, if he was immortal, he wouldn't, like, look at pictures of him in the 80s. Like, I've look at those gargoyles, right? Those are like young Donald Trump. You can clearly tell. It's not like it's not just like the doughy pug-faced Donald Trump we see before us. If he's immortal, he would just remain the same, like Superman. He just stays the same all the time. But he's getting worse. Like look at him, he's deteriorating, his physical appearance. Like it's much worse than it used to be. It's worse than it was even the last time he was president. So like very clearly, he's subjected to time. You know what I mean? Like he's decaying as a result of it. So it can't be that he's immortal. He's got to be just jumping around. You know what I'm saying? So,
Okay.
we thought that through.
I'm unconvinced. I'm gonna probably post a response. I'm probably gonna do a stitch of your video with a video of my own on TikTok, where my generation likes to hang out. Let's talk about Elon Musk, because you have a whole video about where he came from. What is the significance of his name, of the name Musk?
Once I was in the conspiracy mindset where it's like that's what I'm looking for to do these, to come up with these rabbit hole bits. And I knew I wanted to do something. I knew there's something off about Elon. And that's just was the starting point, was his name. It's like, what? That's a weird name. And I looked it up, and it floored us that it turns out his name really does in ancient Sanskrit mean small testicles. That's the etymology of the word Musk. And that just blew it wide open, where it's like, well, now we just need to find proof that he does in fact have teeny little balls. And I think that we did a pretty good job of systematically proving that that's in fact the case.
You did, and you also managed to tie in what's another sort of famous Sanskrit ideogram, if you will.
Yeah, because with the combination being that one of the few other words that the two words that we use most frequently in that from ancient Sanskrit are musk, which means small testicles, and swastika, which we all know Elon is a fan of. So, you know, that seems to reason that there's got to be something there, right? Where there's smoke, there's fire, is what I'm saying, you know?
No, for sure. For sure. So you've proven beyond a reasonable doubt that his name relates to the Nazis. So let's move forward. How does the delicious cereal Lucky Charms come into play here?
That's because at the time, the swastika's been perverted over the years. We didn't initially have anything to do with the Nazis. The Nazis took it and ruined it. Like a swastika was initially just a Sanskrit word that meant a lucky charm, which, if you studied Sanskrit as much as Jimmy has and I have, you would, kind of know that already. That's not your first association when you hear the word swastika. It's, oh yeah, the ancient Sanskrit version of it. And it turns out that Elon one time.
By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's interesting that you say that in your mind that's the worst thing the Nazis did was pervert the meaning of swastika. Because they did other things that either. Personally I think might have been worse. But anyway, go back to Lucky Charms.
I didn't say that either, Andy. I'm just look.
Well, we'll check the tape.
Look, there could be conspiracy goofs on all sides of this thing. Like just because you can write a good conspiracy doesn't mean you deny the Holocaust. That's a bridge too far, my friend. So,
okay.
What I'm trying to tell you is that Elon, in fact, himself one time tweeted, "I am a lucky charm," and that was, bone chilling.
Wow.
When he discovered that. It was like, wow, like he's admitting to being a swastika, essentially, right?
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And there is something.
But there's so much compelling evidence
about him.
Well, that's the thing too, is that that Lucky Charms is their mascot is the leprechaun, right? And that would seem like a coincidence on its face. But when you dig a little deeper, you discover that, like, when you look into leprechauns, like the most famous leprechaun that there's ever been is the leprechaun from the movie Leprechaun 3. And his weapon of choice, as you probably remember from many watchings of that film, his weapon of choice is a chainsaw. A chainsaw, right? Like that can't. What are the odds there?
Yeah.
And that's Elon's. That's what Elon used to saw through the desks of everybody at the forestry department. You know what I mean? He would just burst into the office and kind of like look around confused like an owl for a while and then dance on their desk and saw it in half, right? With his giant MAGA chainsaw, right? So that's not that. I mean, it's proof.
Yeah, no.
It's just something
I
to think
found
about.
this video.
It's what it is. It's not.
It was incredibly compelling. Yeah,
they're just questions we're asking. Really, is all it is.
No, for sure, and they're questions that are, as I think Kimmel says several times, that the mainstream media is not asking. For example, you did a video on 5G, the technology that powers our cell phone connections. What are the secrets? Because the secrets behind 5G, this rabbit hole runs deep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the first one. That was one we really did try to do in the monologue. Like that was one that I sent. I initially wrote to. It was like, there's something here. This is very funny, and he picked it. Like, so that's sort of I would say the one that birthed all of these. And because people have been suspicious of 5G for a long time. All these guys who do their own research and ask all their own questions, like all these people who are like really digging in to try to prove that 5G is the evil sort of technology that connects you to the nanobots in your bloodstream that the vaccine produces. But no one's bothered to look into what 5G actually is, what it stands for. And it turns out like what we've came up and figured out is that it stands for Five Guys. The burger chain, 5G. And it turns out they're behind it, right? Because like their whole thing is all bullshit, right? Like, they're called Five Guys. That's what their face is. That's the face of the operation is Five Guys. There's 6 of them. Did you know that there's 6 guys? Yeah. This
is something I learned from watching this video.
Yeah. So, I mean, once you know that there's 6 guys at Five Guys, that something's up.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like I said, this video, the rabbit hole goes very deep, and it all, like you said, it all starts with the fact that there are actually 6 guys, and then it is wild how the dominoes just fall into place once you understand that, and by the end, I'm sitting there going, well, this couldn't have gone any other way.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's what you don't see is all the long hours of research that went nowhere.
Sure.
But eventually you do get to the truth. And I swear to God, Andy, like all bullshit aside, like when I am able to like make one of these connections, like it feels like it's like, oh, something might, and you just dig and dig and dig and then nothing. And then you dig and dig. And I think I get the same sort of jolt of like pure adrenaline that actual conspiracy theorists do when they he's like, oh my
Yeah.
god, I did.
Yeah.
It's like Doc Brown at the end where he's like racing, running down the wet street with the flames. Like that's how I feel when I'm like, oh my god, they're
That's
720.
fantastic.
That's the area code for the Denver airport. So whatever stuff like that.
Right. Speaking of getting that feeling, you did a video on boat wakes, and this is not one because I'm sort of like you. I'm really into conspiracy theories. I think we've actually talked about this in the past that we both share sort of an interest and a love of these wacky conspiracy theories. And obviously, I'm very familiar with the fact that the so-called, contrails that we see in the sky that are left behind by jet planes are actually chemtrails that are seeding our atmosphere with, like various and sundry cocktails that are making us docile, making us sick, etc. And what you're telling me here with boat wakes is that there may be something similar going on in our oceans, our lakes, our rivers, our bays.
Yeah. I mean, it just if you look at them, right? Like, so I mean, that's just chemtrails are such a sort of well trodden area of conspiracy that it was like, well, there's got to be they have to be missing the larger picture, And so then we started looking into that, and it turns out that like the evidence that boat wakes are far more dangerous is very compelling. It's the same as it serves as it's basically just what is left behind of moving vehicle, and boats are really just the plains of the sea, and if you look at it from above, like the aerial or if you look at the same way you would look at chemtrails from the ground, if you look at boat wakes from above, they match perfectly. It's the same two ribbons of just chemical poison that's probably being just diffused by this machine.
Is this one that you actually made up, like, or is this an existing conspiracy theory?
Well, I made up all of these. What are you talking about? Like, I mean, there isn't
no, but like you said, chemtrails.
Like no one's
is an existing.
But I mean, I don't think that's any different from like 5G is a conspiracy. Let's investigate the Five Guys. You know what I mean? This is like the same kind of thing.
I understand that
like,
as the but the concept that 5G is a conspiracy is real.
Right.
And the concept
that chemtrails, right, is also real. So just to take it a level away from the actual, know. And at first it was like, oh, maybe it's the tire marks that 18-wheelers leave. I was thinking that might, but then it was like, oh no, boat wakes. It's the same. They leave the same marks in the water as chemtrails do in the sky. It's got to be, So that's just where it started. So which I think we did. Really I think we did an excellent job of proving our point.
No, you did, and trucks really are the planes of the land.
They are, exactly. They're highway boats or land planes, however you want to phrase it. Like they're all interchangeable. Anyway,
so this series
took a lot of
In case people couldn't tell, I had a lot of fun watching these videos. Are there more coming down the pike?
We would love to. It depends on people's appetite at work, the amount of effort that they are involved with it. I mean, like there's this genius editor who did all these with us. Jason Bielski works on our show, and I mean, it just became his full-time job for like 2 weeks. Like they're so detailed, you know what I mean? Like, and he's a very funny. And so like he just adds like just these teensy little, and every one of those things takes, like a lot of time to edit all that together. So, and then there's the producer, Sarah Rope, she's great. And the director, John Kimmel, like everybody who's involved is great. The set people who like made that stupid, like bro man cave kind of looking conspiracy hole. Like it's all great, but it takes a lot of people to do something like that. So like, yes, like the short version is I have a million more of these that I would love to, I have like a file in my computer that's like, oh, this would be a fun one to do, to like dig into. But, it just, So like, yes, we'd love to do more. Just depends. But they are being very well received, which is a good sign. So leads me to believe that there's an appetite for more of these, So, well, like I've seen people requesting merchandise I've seen people like in the
Oh,
comments.
yeah. Well,
And
didn't
I
Jimmy
like,
had a mug? I think in one of the shots.
yeah, he did. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was
Yeah.
also, so we had the Trump mug too with the mug shot on it. So,
Yes.
right. The
Yes.
mug shot. So,
Well, I should let our audience know these videos are they're like 6, 7 minutes long. They're bite sized. They're really fun to watch. Go to YouTube and check out The Rabbit Hole with Jimmy Kimmel. Jesse, always love talking to you. You're one of my favorite people from the old days. And it's good to see you, pal.
thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.